Hey, once again, everybody, welcome to the Front Door Show, brought to you by Four Fantastic and DJ Prieto. And today I'm excited because we got a really tremendous guy in the business here. If you guys don't know who he is, his name is Jorge Ortega. And trust me, if you never know, he comes from the Ortega brothers. So George, just in case there's somebody that doesn't know you, highly unlikely, but just in case, introduce yourself, tell people who you are, kind of, give your spiel per se.
Okay. How's it going? Name is Jorge Ortega, George, part of the Ortega brothers, an outfit that we put together with some family members to produce events. I'm a 30-year veteran, 30 plus year veteran of producing events here in Chicago and other cities. Extensive resume, over 1,000 events, from small, private events to massive, 80,000 plus people festivals. That's pretty much my background. I went to Colombian College, got a degree in a Bachelor of Arts in business management, media arts, and a sound engineering second degree in sound engineering. So that's pretty much my background. And then I've been doing this all my life.
Well, so George, you're originally from where? Where are you from?
I was born in Barranquilla, Colombia,
Okay.
in Barrio Simón Bolívar, in the south side of Barranquilla.
So, and then when did you come to the States here?
Came here, well, my folks brought me here. My dad came first in the late 60s. I arrived here with my mom in about 71.
Okay.
So 1971.
Were you into music at the time when you walked in? I mean, like, you were a kid, but what got you into, because I know music is a lot of do with the family out there in Colombia, but what got you into doing music? Were you a DJ? Were you just a music lover? Or what was your starting roots?
Oh, yeah, I think, from in Barranquilla on the coast of Colombia, it's well known and documented for the street parties, which are called verbenas. And in these verbenas, they had these massive sound systems. And, it came from the islands of Haiti, Jamaica, that they had that sound culture, back in the 60s and 70s. So when that came to Colombia, it transformed itself. These sound systems became these giant boxes, but they were decorated, fully colored, lights, and it was part of the whole atmosphere. So that's where I come from. The street, the barrio that I'm from, where my folks are from. On that street, there was two famous verbenas, two famous raves, so to speak. There were street parties. They closed the street down. One was on the corner, like 4 doors down from where we lived. And that one was called La Camaleonas. And then on the other side, across the street, down the street from where I was born, and I was raised in a storefront, in a family store. Couple doors down from there was another famous party which was called the Roche Juvenil, which grew, and there's a whole story about that. But that's the root. So when I got here to America as a young boy, I had the struggles of every immigrant, as you already know, language barriers, cultural differences, all of that stuff that, and sad to say what's going on now, with all this craziness with the police brutality, the racism, all of that was happening back then when we got to this country. I moved into, I remember our first place was on the Levitt in Lemoyne,
Oh, okay.
Wicker Park. Well, back then it was, it was all mixed. It was mixed. It was gang infested. I didn't know what that stuff was. I seen stuff on the walls and some tough guys walking around the block, but I was 7, 8 years old. Um, but the influences came really from my dad side, where my dad in our house was like that Colombian house. It seemed like every Colombian that moved, that came from Colombia to Chicago, stopped at our house. You know,
Okay.
what I'm my dad, my dad's like 80 years old. He's gonna be like 80 years old. Um, and he was a popular guy. He was a soccer player. He was one of the first. He was one of the first guys to work with these other guys to start up the Latino soccer clubs here.
And that's how and Henry is part of that too, right?
Yeah.
So,
But that story comes a little bit further. But,
right, right.
that story comes a little bit further. I'll show you the connection. So my dad and my uncle were the first ones that came here, manotas, and my uncle, he had that style. He brought the records, from Colombia, the LPs, and he built a small little, Pico sound system, DJ, setup. But with that style, with that Colombian flair, he had some guy hand paint the mirrors, and and that's how I started. Where my dad had this soccer club, this social club. Back then, it was real popular. I don't know if you remember. There wasn't a lot of Latino clubs in those days. It was social clubs. So
Right.
my dad partnered up with the Ecuadorians to do the soccer club, and then they ended up doing a social club on Irving Park in Damon, like on a second floor next to the bank on the corner on
Right.
the east
Okay.
side. So that room, I remember I was young, 10, 11 years old, going to these parties, and I would help my uncle set up the sound system, carry the records up the stairs, the speakers, the whole routine. Um, so, and I would go to his house too, and play with the records. And he had over the years, he has such a big, extensive collection, you know, um, of all of these big salsa bands from Colombia, from Cuba, from Puerto Rico, from New York. So he had all those records, and that's how I learned about the music. Because I would pick the records, play them, read the liner notes. That's what I would do. Uh,
So go ahead.
so yeah, that's how I got then I just, I wasn't a DJ. I think I was always more of a selector. I mean, I'm not as good as you are, with all the all the DJ Prieto, all the special effects, and you had these, huge, back in the CD days and the mixtape days, I was always on the sideline, but I was always taking care of the records, and my dad's collection, I'm the one that uses it, and we play it at our festivals. So that's I really don't consider myself a DJ. I learned how to scratch, when, but mixing, blending, but I was more of a blending guy, and since I played for like old people, in these social clubs, my uncle would get drunk, right? He'd be like passing out, and these guys would be passed out. It'd be 2 a.m. I'm 10 years old. I'm hanging out with my dad, and I'm the DJ. All of a sudden I'm the picotero. I'm the selector. So I'm playing music for old people. back then nobody said nothing. I remember leaving those parties, man. People would be leaving there at 4 or 5 in the morning. I don't think they even have a license for that. It was just a social club license, and
Right.
they'll break night. I would leave in the morning. My mom would be yelling at my dad when I got home. Hey, I want to go. You gotta go to school on Monday, and he's all messed up on Sunday. Because I was hanged over, but I'll be playing the music. So I learned to play music that the older people wanted to dance to.
Right.
So the merengues, the salsa, the cumbias, the vallenatos, the slow cuts. That's what I learned all that stuff from.
So I mean, because that was ingrown in your family. That was your, doing your parties. Basically, you're learning the craft, playing to relatives and uncles and cousins, and and obviously the older people. And trust me, that was the same thing with me. I was 15 years old and I was playing in a 21 and over club. So everybody was 25 to 35 years old. So you're playing the older stuff, the older music, and you have to be. It's got to be their music. It isn't like music you want to play for yourself. You got to play what they want to hear and stuff like that. So I can understand, you playing all the older music, but then after, teenager, what happens to you as far as the music, and what happens, past,
Well, I think, time went by, you evolved, there was, family parties and so forth. Then, when I got into college, in high school, I got into a car accident. I broke my leg, and I changed plans. I wanted to be a pilot. I want to be a pilot. I was going to join the Marines, do all that gun ho, GI, type of thing. So that never happened. So I ended up going to Columbia College. A friend of mine, he gave me a pamphlet. Hey man, ain't you like the stuff you like to do? And they had this course in sound, it was like radio broadcasting, sound engineering, like arts management stuff. And he sent me this pamphlet. He's like, hey man, is that weird stuff what you like to do? Because it was like, everybody's like, my parents are like, hey, why don't you become a doctor, a lawyer? The traditional stuff that every parent wants their kid to be. And my folks, when I went to college, that's when I started doing events. In high school, you did the little dance, whatever. But in college is when I got the chance to 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 hone in the craft, learn the craft of events. I was one of the first event producers of this event in Columbia College, the class bash, and it was a crazy. The school rented out the Blackstone Hotel, and I was one of the producers. But me, I always had that, build a nightclub. I made the ballroom into a club. We had a stage with student musicians. It was DJs. Dude, and the place went wild. And we had it 1 year there, and that was it. After that party, the hotel kicked us out. There's too many kids. There was a bunch of kids out there, dancing all over the place. Kids, you're a college kid, man. And people were running around the halls, disturbing the guests. And that was it. That was, it got out of hand, and it grew so fast. So they ended up doing something else bigger and bigger. So those were my first, I started the Latino Alliance at Columbia
Okay.
College. And that was where I also took advantage of that situation, and I started to produce events for the club. Latino Alliance, we did, Christmas party, we did, drives to help the needy people. We went back to the high schools to talk to the kids. So there I started getting more adventurous. And we did a party. I think you did a party there too, back in sometime in that era when you were starting at Marina City. I don't know if you remember Marina
That
City.
wasn't me. That was Frank Monroy. Frank
Oh,
Monroy
okay.
did that at Marina Towers. You mean Marina
Marina Tower.
Towers? Yeah,
Yeah, so
that
you
was
know, well, before Frank, I did a party there, two of them.
okay.
The college was successful, got packed, and I got too smart for the class, you know, and there was like I got sponsorship. I just started a relationship. I met this guy from Budweiser. And it was this older gentleman who ended up later on. I ran into him when I started working for Cardenas Fernandez. So the guy's like, "Hey, I'll give you some stuff sponsored." So I made a poster, a flyer, put the Budweiser logo on it, did the party. Monday we walk in, the dean calls me, "Sir, can you come into the dean's office?" Dude, I had the legal department there. I had the dean. Well, you can't do that. You're at college and you're putting a beer brand on, on an activity. But I'm like, hey, I'm a marketing major. This is what I do. This is what you guys are teaching me what to do. You know, I needed some funds to do this party. And I think the one of the gifts that they gave me was this giant like branded uh spaceship looking thing. It was like with the Star Wars theme, and it's hanging in the attic in my parents' house still, and that's like 30 something years old.
You got to
That's
bring it out. You got to definitely bring it out.
to dust it out. It's like it's like an old big sign. So that's how, like, you know, at Columbia College, I got a lot of experience, and then that experience helped me, you know, work during the summers. My first like industry job that I was going after was working for Cardenas Fernandez at the time, and at the time that was right around the first time the Pan Am was happening. So
Well,
the
interesting.
Pan,
I, I want to cut in here because it was funny because just before we did a show, I was listening to Angel Rodriguez's interview with Mike Rivera. And Mike Rivera says that he used to work for Gardeners Finance Association, and he was producer, I guess, for the for the show and stuff like that. So I said, "Oh well, you know what? Speaking of Gardeners Finance Associates, because I knew you had worked for them as well. So did you know Mike Rivera at all? Did you work with him at all?
well, yeah, I'm gonna give you just a really quick how I got there. The first Pan Am, if everybody remembers, it was at Olive Park. I think it rained, and you know, well, my dad played soccer with Henry Cardenas,
Okay.
and Henry was a young guy, and actually they called Henry El Boricua, and he was Colombian, you know, from Cali. But you know, back then, you know, the Boricuas, the Mexicans, everybody was mixed playing soccer, and I would go to the park. And there's a photo around my house where my dad's in the team, in the Colombian team, Nacional. I think it was a green and white Nacional team, and you know Henry's there, a couple other people, um, and Marroquin. I don't know if you remember Edgar Marroquin. Well,
Mhm.
his dad also played soccer in that era. And there's a
Wow.
picture of, and actually there's another picture of another team that is actually Ega Marroquin as a young guy, his dad, my dad, and I think I'm in the picture but holding the ball, the soccer ball.
Is that when Edgar Marroquin had the long hair? Is
He
that
had the
when
long hair, yeah. He had the long hair.
he's a rocker?
Yeah, he looked like a rocker and he's skinny. And I ran into him today too. So big up to Ega Marroquin. Um, and you know, so that was, and then I would bug my dad, and my dad's like, hey, you know, my dad never understood what I went to college for until like, you know, after the fact. You know, I ended up paying my way through school, working different jobs. So when the Pan Am came around, my dad said, hey, you gotta go. You know, I think Henry gave him some tickets. We went, and I'm like, you know, you should come and experience it. So I was at the first Pan Am. I'm like, yeah, this is what I want to do. You know, so like the second year came around, and I'm like, you know, I need to intern. I need to like do stuff in the summer, and I would bug the office manager, the one that was running the company back then for Henry was Milena, Milena Severia. You probably know her too.
Yeah, of
Um,
course.
and then she's good friends with Mike and all that. There's history going through there in the industry. So when I got there, I was young, and they gave me one of those jobs. I remember managing the kids stage, and then managing the Coca-Cola stage. So I was helping get the sound, manage the stage. I was and back in the first DJ battles, and that's when Pinky. I don't know if you remember,
Oh
Pinky
yeah,
All Star Productions.
All-Stars. Yep, yep.
So he was in the first Pan Ams with Henry. He would handle the kid stuff. That's when all the dancing stuff was happening, all the freestyle, all that Chicago music. So by the time I got there, like Mike Rivera, the company started growing. It started blowing up. It went from office to office, and then this was, I think, a couple of years down the line. Two more summers. I was about to graduate, right? College. This was 91 around there. Cardenas was already like getting big. He had the vision. And then he united with Fernandez. His plan. He united all these other promoters to make a bigger company.
Right.
And it grew from there. So Mike Rivera was the main guy. It was him. Because his musical background, his expertise in sound. He knew what the artists want, what they need. So he was involved in that whole aspect of production, which to me was like, I always liked that stuff. As like, as a music selector, sound guy. I took some sound classes, lighting class. I took all the technical classes, not to become a sound engineer, is to learn the language, learn what it is, because I was seeing other people do it. I'm like, I gotta learn, if I want to do this business, like other business people, other entrepreneurs, it's like, you sort of learn all the basics of everything,
Right.
you know. So you as a promoter, okay, you come from a DJ background, but now, you're a booking agent, so you're a booking agent, you select the music, you play at the club, you book the club, you end up, you know, um, marketing the event, passing out the flyers, because me and you are from the old school that
Mhm.
that's where you get the start as a promoter. When I started passing out flyers for Henry, at the different spots, and going, and you learn, and you absorb the culture, and and it was a tight knit community back then. you know when I started out, a lot of the guys that are doing stuff now, they were just starting out passing out flyers. You
Correct.
you had, all the DJs were coming up. Bad Boy Bill, I think I ran into him later on at a DJ battle that I put together, and he won. That I was doing sound for the other promoters. So that's how I got with Mike. So Mike was the main guy back then, and I would be shadowing Mike. I would ask him questions, and he was my mentor.
Wow.
The guy that mentored me, was Mike Rivera.
Nice.
Like the music stuff, the technical music stuff, it was hard for me. It's like, I didn't pay attention in college in the music theory classes, basic stuff. I picked it up. But with Mike, I had to learn everything.
Well, and let me ask you something, since you, and don't mean to interrupt you too much about that, but one thing I tell me if it's true, you could learn all the technical stuff in school, but hands-on, you learn a lot more.
Well,
Doing,
I think that that's been my, how I got started. My focus was, okay, you know what? The college um, degree opened the door. Okay, it opened the door, but the hands-on is where you learn. I mean, I remember working, like even before I got a full-time position at CFA, I was doing gigs with other sound companies.
Right.
Working, I worked the Irish Fest, the Polish Fest, you know, um, all these little festivals all over the south suburbs. For I remember going home with $50 in my pocket. I'm like, dude, I worked all day for $50. You know, um, because you had to wake up early in the morning, load the truck. You have to go meet the guy at his warehouse, at the sound company's warehouse, load the truck, unload it at the festival, set it up, be there for 3 days, eating White Castles, because that's all you could afford. Or wait till the artist finish eating. And this is like a big production guy. The artists always get the nice trays. They get the nice, all the nice cheeses, the fruits. The production guys that you get White Castles or some burgers. We don't get good meal. So once the show's over, hey, you go over there and you eat. So that's what you do. So the hands on. I tell this to all the kids. The only way you're going to learn this business, and whichever uh, discipline you're in, whichever part you're in, you got to do it. You got to be out there doing it hands on. You have to earn. You got to earn your badge. You got to earn the, like I said, people ask me the other day, I'm like, dude, you're out here passing out flyers for the Colombian Fest. Why ain't you over here? I'm like, dude, I have to be on the streets, because if I lose that, I don't know what the people are thinking. Because I go
Correct.
to a restaurant, I ran into people, I go to the clubs, like
I know.
you got to stay fresh. You
I
know,
know. I know.
I
You
mean,
gotta stay.
sometimes, like, I ain't like my brother. He'll go out, what I'm saying? He'll see you on Tuesday. He keeps telling me, hey, let's go see Prieto. I make my appearance, a couple of times a year. But dude, I can't do that every week, man. It's tough. You gotta go see Prieto. And then I gotta go to drive through to somewhere in the damn suburbs with Mellow.
Well,
And
so
then
I,
it's crazy.
I know. So I mean, you're so, and I just want to make sure the message gets out there. So you're a big advocator of internship, right? Because that's where the kids are going to learn this business. If they really want to get into this business, intern programs is the way to go with anything that you're going to do in this business, because you got to start from somewhere. You got to learn the craft per
Yeah,
se.
you got to learn the craft. I think, internships, mentoring is very important. And I
Right.
think that, I had a lot of good mentors, Henry Cardenas, Mike Rivera, Milena, there's a bunch of other production guys, out of Miami, that they've done big shows, big tours, you learn from everybody. um, and that's what I do. I try to learn a little bit from everybody every day, because you grow. I mean, you never
Right.
stop learning. I mean, I came in. Remember when I started school, the sound business was all analog. It was old
Correct.
school, big round knobs, everything. The board was like the size of a truck. You know, you needed all this equipment to make something work. I defended myself, but I had a decent ear. But the thing is, that wasn't my main thing. But you have to be there. You got to lug the speakers. You got to pass out the flyers. You gotta, you know, um, do all that stuff, because at the end of the day, that's what you're gonna learn. Because if
Correct.
if you volunteer at a fest, or get a mentorship program, and that helps you along the way, because that's what helped me. And that's helped a lot of other people because you say, what kind of experience you got? Nobody's going to give you that shot. You got to
Right.
make your own shot. And that's what I've done all my life as a dude. Nobody's giving me a handout. Nobody's giving me a shot. You got to make it. You got to
Correct.
make yourself, put yourself in a position in the opportunities. I feel like, you put yourself uh, by educating yourself and preparing yourself, meeting people, networking people. That's how you get to the next level.
Right. So I was going to ask you, so you've done the Pan Am Fest. In Chicago, as far as any Latin festival, you've almost worked almost all of them, if that's correct.
Mhm.
Pretty much in Chicago, you worked all of them.
Yeah.
And and before we get to the Colombian Fest, I want to talk about pre-Colombian Fest. What was your role in these festivals? What did you actually, what were you called? Were you the producer? Were you the music producer? What was your role in
Well,
most of
I
these?
was I was in most of the fests in the early times. It's a big name, but I was like production manager.
Okay,
You know, you have a project manager, which was a person that took a little bit more responsibility um, on the event. You know, and then like a project manager almost oversees the entire event. He's like the producer. Like my forte was on the production level. I get stuff handed off. Oh, here it is. So I would have to coordinate, contract, labor liaison, all those technical aspects, the union labor, contracting the stage guys, make sure the stage is what we need, the sound guys, the sound companies, the lighting companies, the video, so forth and so on. So all of that management was under that's what I did. And then as
okay,
time went by, my forte was like, because when I started out, I was gonna be a production guy, marketing guy, whatever. But like as in the company, or the first company that I worked for, production guys, they had four guys. Yeah, one guy was selling vendors, the food vendors. There was Mike Rivera. There was another guy and another guy and me. And in less than a year, all those dudes left. And I remember I'm like, wait a minute, where's everybody at? I was in there for like 9 years, bro. It was 9 years. Uh, and it became like, it's a family, and it became like second nature to me.
Right. But
You
it's
know,
funny, it's funny how we see in this business, we see so many people come and go, and I sometimes see people bitch about things that are happening at the moment. And like, no, you have no clue. Walk my shoes, and I'll tell you what
oh,
to.
dude, there's like a million stories, man. I'm gonna write a book one day, because the shit that happened to me, man, the shit that's happened to me in the last 20 years has been crazy. I mean, there was we did a show. I was working for Henry, and we did a show in New York. It was a Pan Am in New York, in the New York festival, the Pan Am in New York with El Difunto, rest his soul, the legend Rafi Mercado, RMM
Yeah,
Record.
yeah,
That guy is like one of my, not heroes, but I look up to that guy. The dude had the guy had like, style. The dude had class. And the thing with Ralphie to me was special because remember, when I was young, I was listening to the records, the old Fania stuff, and the Fania records and the RMM later on. But people know the history. You know, Ralph Mercado was the promoter for La Fania. You know, he did a lot of those big early
Yep.
salsa shows in Madison Square Garden. You know, they mentioned him in
Yep.
music. So that guy always, to me, was like, dude, I want to meet that guy. I want to be that guy, you know?
The Godfather.
Yeah, yeah. So this guy's like, you know, he's the godfather of this whole thing. You know, I meet him down the line in New York, midway through my tenure at CFA. And you know, all craziness breaks out. You know, we're doing this festival in the middle of hang on. Bye bye bye. My son, oh hey, okay, bye-bye. Go upstairs.
You're not the first one with a child walk into the screen. Trust me. Gino had his kid with a little balloon. Go ahead.
Yeah, he snuck in upstairs, snuck back upstairs. But no, the story was like, I mean, this guy, you know, we went to his office and you know, the operation was, you know, this guy's big, you know, this is to me, like that was the big time, you know.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
that was the big time. And then also like, you know, like other big promoters like Bill Graham, you know, the guys from San Francisco, you know, those type of the two main promoters that I looked up to back, you know, back in the days. But yeah, like, you know, CFA, that tenure, it was so revolutionary that, I mean, it just in such a short amount of time, what this whole company did, you know, everybody that worked there, you know, it was just crazy, bro. I mean,
Would you
big
consider that being the Latin explosion that happened all over the United States? Would you consider that as the
yeah,
reason why?
I think that was the first, because I think the first wave, what I would say was the Fania thing, you know,
Okay.
and I'm talking about on a tropical side, more commercial
Okay. Yeah. Right. Right.
appeal. You know, the Mexican, you know, genre, you have promoters like, you know, that started out, you know, in California, and you had, you know, some of the old school promoters here in Chicago, you know, Willie Miranda, Masmera Teca, which was the first, the owners of the Aragon in the early days. And they were bringing, you know, these big Mexican bands at the time. Then by the time all this unification happened, you know, with Carlos Fernandez and buying all this stuff out and growing it, you know, they were involved in all of these big artists, you know, that came through here. And, you know, and there was some tours that, you know, that I remember flopped, you know. I remember when, you know, I was working the Aragon when Shakira came, you know, Henry brought Shakira, you know, and when she still had black hair and you know, with her Pies del Calzo. And that tour didn't do that good. You know, there wasn't a lot of people. You know, it was rough. You know, a lot of the earlier artists that you see now, you know, the company took a lot of big hits. You know, so there was, you know, there was some events. You know, you take a bath. Not every event you made money. You know, some events, you know, as the city grew, you know, we had to move the festivals from downtown, you know, from one park to the other, you know, and then it grew. The Pan Am thing lasted like 17 years or something like that,
Right. Right.
you know, and I remember I was a part of like 12 of those, you know, but,
And I
hello.
we go anywhere. So I was saying, sorry about that. I was saying that I remember I was passing out flyers in front of the Pan Am Fest. That was where, that's where I was at, because I was on mixtapes, Latin mixtapes. And I think that was, so when was the official last Pan Am Fest here? When was that?
I already had left. I had gone to Dallas, I think at the time.
Okay. All right.
So they think they did two two more after that.
Oh, so you were the reason why they stopped. I got it.
Yeah, I was the festival crew. I was the festival ninja, man. I remember some guys were calling me that, hey, you're a ninja. You know, the thing is like, I think people don't realize that the job of a production guy. Remember, this is like the dude, like you always hear the old cliche, I'm the first one in, the last one out.
This went out. Yep.
So and I can be honest and tell, the people out there, I said, listen, I was the guy that I started in the festival business from I think almost every job that's involved in an event, I've done it.
Yep.
From sweeping the grounds, picking up the garbage, running the stage, owning a stage, owning sound, running everything, getting permits. And I became a specialty, specialty permits. I had to go deal with all the politics, all of that stuff, getting permits, street closure, dealing with the cops, dealing with everybody, the city hall. And every time a new mayor came in, new rules came in, So,
and you had to, you definitely had to communicate. They had to know you, right? That you were the first guy, because I know Henry would never go to see the mayor. You would have to go see the mayor.
Not the mayor. I would see we were the guys in the office. You know what I'm saying? You become friends. So I learned that early on. You become friends with the guys in the bottom, in the 9 to 5 guy, because those are the guys that are going to help you at the end of the day.
Right.
I remember one event, it rained like hell and it was flooded downtown. And I had to make a bunch of calls. And because we knew a guy that knew the guy who had the key, to a storage in the park that had like tons of wood chips. And the guy came in and was, oh, Jorge, we got it, man. We had to take care of the dog. I'll give you some cases of beer, whatever. I need some wood chips. And they showed up with a dump trucks full of that stuff, man. And those are the guys that you
right. The connections that are important.
And that was my job, is to have like the guys, like the whole thing. Yeah, you have a guy. I have a guy for everything. If I don't have it, listen, if I can't get you something, it's not going to happen. You know what I'm saying? It's basically it. And I tell people, listen, dude, if it's going to happen, if I can get it done, I'll get it done. But that's it, because it's not going to happen.
So from that point, you said you moved to Dallas for a bit. You moved out of Chicago.
Yeah. I did a 2-year, actually 3-year stunt in Dallas. I ran, at the time it was Hispanic Broadcasting.
Okay.
So it was before Univision bought them out. I was the program promotions manager and events manager in Dallas. So I did all these festivals. I did their festivals beforehand when I was at CFA. I got contracted. And then I ended up.
I was going to say, did you ever work with Chewy out there in Texas?
Yeah.
All right. So I know Chewy. So yeah, that's it. Just in case people don't know, people that deal with artists, we pretty much in pretty Midwest, West Coast, East Coast, we kind of know the same guys pretty much.
It's the same, I've been dealing with working with the Mexican market all my life, from all the artists that have come through Chicago. When I was in Dallas, it's the same thing. I was just wearing a different hat,
a cowboy hat.
Yeah, it was a cowboy hat. It was a wonderful experience over there. It was just a little bit, it was a little bit slower pace, than I was used to, but I learned a lot. and you learned about, the whole system of radio, and which now that's changed, because everything's digital now.
Right.
Um, everything times have changed, but yeah, it was a good experience. And I think the reason I came back on my own, 9/11 happened. That changed a lot for a lot of people. For
It
myself
changed a lot for
personally,
the business.
for the
I
business.
mean, all across the board. Oh my God, that changed the way we thought. Just like the pandemic right now
Yeah,
is going to change the business and stuff like that.
yeah, it is.
So
It's changing it totally different.
right,
I mean, there's a lot of stuff that we have to do now, like, the guidelines. I mean, this is all new to everybody.
right.
When 9/11 happened, I was doing an event in Dallas. I postponed that event uh, until we got the security portion down. Back then, we were dealing with a terrorist act. So now, we're thinking, okay, we're a target for a terrorist attack. You got 80,000 people in a parking lot of a stadium. God
It's a
forbid,
large gathering.
the
Yep.
large gathering, some crazy dude come up here, trying to hurt
Yep.
some people. So we have to prevent all that stuff. So
Correct.
even all that stuff that came out of that, it's still it's in place today. You know, the security is very important at an event. Um, so there's a lot of things that go entailed in that security plan, and that event changed everything.
So after you were out of Dallas, you came back to Chicago. What happens when you come back to Chicago? What is your mentality? What happens
Well,
with you here?
well, I think that the mentality was like, you know, um, I really didn't want to do. I think my moment there was like I didn't want to do no more corporate stuff.
Okay.
Be in a corporate setting, because when I remember being in that situation where, like, man, you had to write a permission slip through to go to the bathroom. You know what I'm saying? It was just everything we had to do had to go through this channel of paperwork, where I was used to, like, you know what? I'm gonna produce the event, I work on it, boom, get it done. Here it is. You know what I'm saying? At the end of the day, I show the promoter, the boss, here's the plan, here it is, it's done. I build it, I execute it, I take it down, move to the next one. You
Great.
know, here when I was there, it was like, oh, you got to go to this corporate meeting, wear a suit and tie, and you got to come here, and you got to. I mean, the same event that I did in my mind, in a checklist, dude. It was the folder was like this fat, because every little thing had to have an approval. You know, oh, why are we bringing that art?
T's
Yeah,
cross,
as
dot.
always, we're Latino, whatever the station was, you got to book, our top 20 artists. But okay, your top 10 artists you can't afford. So what are we going to do? you know, you got to start
Right.
going, booking smaller guys and give them a break. But yeah, so when I came back to Chicago, a lot of things have changed, with the 9/11. I was looking like I want to be on my own, and I tried it,
Okay.
that's when, I went, you know, um, I did a car show thing. If a lot of people
I
don't know,
remember that.
there was a small era of like 5 or 6 years. We were doing car shows. That was on and off for me, was good. But you make money on one show, and you lose it on the other. At the end of the day, you're just trying to break even. Um, but that was cool. That was I brought the streets, I brought the streets you know to an event. You know what I'm saying? We made it cool. Made a lot of friends. I know 800 car guys now. And it was a lot of fun, and we grew it. We grew the industry, and as we were growing the industry, then 9/11 happened, and then it started
Right.
coming back down. It was hard to bring that back up, because now the people weren't coming out to events like they were. People were scared. I'm like, hey, So, instead of having 10,000 people, now you got 5,000 people going
Right.
to an event. It's hard to make money on a big scale event with only 5,000 people. The numbers don't match. So, I went through that for a few years, with some hard times, and just put my bootstraps back up. And, you know, my experience and my know-how back in Chicago, I says that I can make it in Chicago. This is my hometown. So my thing is be persistent. And that's what I did. I was persistent, bro, for 7, 10 years now. I've been on my own. I'm like, you get used to that, and it's like, it's people think it's a glamour. Oh, it's the glory, the glamour. You're a promoter. I remember having this kid. I did a car show, and we had celebrity cars, and this kid comes off like, he was maybe like 15, 14 years old. And he's like, hey, what are you driving, man? You're like, this is your big event. You're the head honcho. And he goes, what are you driving? Where's your whip? And I like, see that car right there? And he goes, what? Which one? That one right there. It was a green van, a green Ford Windstar. It was a family van. See that van right there? That's my car. And the guy looked at me like, dude, it's not about, it's not about, I told the kid, listen, it's not about the money. You know what I'm saying? All that flash comes and goes. Is the experience, the people you know. Like my thing is like the journey was cool. I can't complain. It was a good
Right.
journey. I'm hoping to continue the journey, you know, and get bigger and better and do more cooler things.
And
But
speaking of journey, tell us about Colombian Fest, because that's the newest of your adventures per se.
no,
So you've been
yeah,
doing
the fest, like I said, it started. They've done. I've done every ethnic group festival in Chicago. From African, Mexicans, all like the Mexicans. I did like 5 festivals. The Mexicans, they got celebrations for everything. Cinco de Mayo, September, Guadalupe. So it keeps the industry going, man. I'm telling you.
yeah,
On the Latino side, so I've done every ethnic group. So it came to be, there was another organization that did a picnic for many years. That fell through for them, and they didn't do it for like 7 years. In those 7 years, I was getting up, doing my things, doing sound, doing this, roadie work, stage managing, doing small festivals, big festivals, growing them. So it came about that we did a picnic. I got the permit. We did a picnic like 6, 7 years ago, Irving Park in Cumberland. It was because the Colombian celebration falls around my birthday, so it's an excuse to like, okay, let's have a party, let's bring it back like the old schools, do a picnic. So I get a permit for like 200 people, and like 500, 600 people show up. The forest preserve is packed. So the following year we did it again, and we get more people. We took up all the groves, and then from there I remember having people come up to me, hey, you should do a fast, do this, blah. We thought about it, and like I said, we got the some partners together, and we did the first couple of ones at the Caprenices Center, and then it grew from there. Just the vision was always to become a world-class festival, not necessarily the largest. I think the beginning of the fest and the mission of the fest is to bring good quality music, and it goes back to what I said earlier about street parties, verbenas. So the festival becomes a homage. I'm honoring like the old parties. I'm honoring my folks. I'm honoring our culture, our Colombian culture, our Latino culture. Because if you know, like the fest, We brought, you know, Puerto Rican Power. We brought Malafe. You know, we did Johnny Ventura last year, Grupo Nietzsche. You know, so we bring a different array of music because in Colombia and here in Chicago, you know, as a festival, you got salsa, cumbia, vallenato, and your cultural, you know, presentation. So we try to bring a little bit of everything. And that's the main mission of the fest is, and it becomes it's a personal event. You know what I'm saying? A lot of people, you know, I've, you know, been told and, oh, it's a business and this and that. But at the end of the day, you know, I don't see myself as a businessman. You know what I'm saying? I'm an entrepreneur, yeah. But I think passion has to drive you. You know what I'm saying? So it's like,
Right.
you know, it's like me. My goal in life was, okay, I want to do this. I love it. I like it. You know, I want to be the best I can be of what I do. You know, I'm an artist. You know, you're an artist. You know, you have to think about it that way because we're creating art. An event is an art piece. I mean,
Absolutely.
you're taking an empty lot, you know, an empty lot, dirt lot, whatever, and you're creating something. You're creating an
Right.
experience. You know, you're creating an experience for people to enjoy, to learn, to bring their families, you know, to dance, to have a good time. I mean, all that is you curate the event. You're an artist. You're a programmer, and that's where we come in. You know, come in
Right.
passion as a family unit. This is we grew up with the music. You know, we grew up. You know, having a good time and sharing, and that's what we want to do. I mean, the Colombian Fest is 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 an extension an extension of a backyard. It's just 10,000 times much bigger. Um, you know, so
Extension of the social club you used to do with your father and his soccer friends.
yeah, now we're gonna invite 10,000 friends to come and hang out. And it's become that because I'm really humbled and I'm blessed that people follow us, they like us, they send us great positive messages, and when we mess up they let us know too.
Yeah.
Dude, dude, I've gotten, with social media, it's crazy. And it's like we're not a big company. We're not Live Nation. We're not IEG. This is personal. I mean, you want to talk to
Right.
me, you talk to me.
Right.
You can get a hold of me. Go on Facebook, Instagram. My number's on the you. I had people call me, hey Ortega, what are you gonna do? And then I've gotten like thousands of emails and calls of this whole COVID-19.
Well, that's what's going to be the next question now, because this now, not just you, but every festival for the summer, kibosh, right? So that was going to be, you led me into now, what's obviously it's not going to happen this year, correct?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I mean, what I'm saying? It was like, man, I didn't sleep for a while. It's different. Like, and I feel for every promoter. I don't care if you're big, small. We're all in this. We're all on this together, man. Because at the end of the day, you imagine. I was like, man, 2020 was gonna rock. It was gonna rock for us, man. We had lined up, 7, 8 festivals. We're producing for other people. My summer was like from April, no, from March to November, packed calendar this year. I'm like, okay, man, we're finally gonna be like, we're gonna make some noise. We're gonna, and then you see the news, and then you're like, I got back from Colombia.
You had a lineup. I mean, from what you had told me.
We had a lineup. I mean,
I know.
we program a year in advance. You know what I'm saying?
Correct,
We work
correct.
a year, this is all we do. So I work a year in advance um to produce this festival and produce other festivals. So, you have this COVID-19 came about, and then it's like nobody knew nothing. There's no information, you know. We just gotten out of a bunch of community meetings to switch the park over to a new venue, a little bit bigger space. And then this hit, and then we were in limbo, and I think we're still in limbo. I was having other festival people call me, other promoters call me, because they know I'm always in touch with City Hall and all that stuff. I was emailing these people every other day. I'm like, what are we doing? What's going on? You're gonna permit us? Well, we don't know. We don't know. We gotta wait. The governor said this. The mayor said that. So now everybody's like, now you're starting to see a structure. But remember, 2 months ago, nobody knew nothing, you know. And so the event industry was the first one to close, and we're the last ones to open. That's our reality.
Sorry about that. Go ahead. You were saying. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was saying that, COVID-19, this whole pandemic thing, the way it played out, I watched it on TV like everybody else. And then I started analyzing this whole thing, and going back, my brother, he's in law enforcement, and seeing what he's seeing. These orders came in to shelter in place, and I'm like, man, we're doomed. We're done. We're done. I mean, when the stuff started happening, I'm like, we're done, because there's no way we as an industry can control.
The other doors started shutting down.
And then all of a sudden you're like, okay, we went from, and this is every company, bro, every guys that I talk
Yep.
to, from, people don't understand the industry, the impact is that there's so many people tied to events. You got catering companies, you got staging companies, rental companies, all of these people, I mean, millions of people across the country, that work, the gig workers. Now everybody was, this nature in this game is like, okay, you work all spring and you work all summer, you save your money for the winter, or you move down to Florida for the winter and do some shows and carnivals or whatever down there. This hit, everybody went from making something to having 52 dates or 100 dates to zero.
And I don't mean to make this sound so derogative and stuff like that, but it's almost like you're a moving circus and somebody removes the track. Basically.
Oh, yeah, you're like, so you're not now, I'm thinking back from 9/11. I said, I got hit hard. 9/11, I got hit hard. You're talking about making, these big figure money to like, dude, you're making like a janitor now. You know what I'm saying? And then today, who are the heroes? The janitors, the essential workers, because those are the ones working. Because all of corporate America is done. They're at home.
Yep.
So now, as an event, how are you going to survive? You know what I'm saying? You have to reinvent yourself. People are starting to do the live streaming, but it's not there yet. We have to be patient. We got to wait, and then we have to try to survive as best as we can, because when situations like this happen, what happens is the little guys, the small guys, they start going under, because they don't have, they don't have the big bankroll in the bank to last 4 or 5 months.
Right.
Who's going to pay your rent? Who's going to pay the equipment lien, the lease that you just took out? Who's going to pay for the trucks? You still got to pay all that stuff. So, it's going to be a hard road, but I'm confident that, we're going to stick it out, and come back stronger. Because every time this happens, the industry comes back stronger. On the bad side, the industry
Right.
gets smaller because
Correct,
you know,
correct.
you're gonna get people that are they're not gonna make it, and they're gonna fold. They're
And
gonna throw in the cards.
right, and this and across the board, being it like you said, caterers and stuff like that, even for the industry of the guys who are working 7 days a week, because you do events are happening, and it's a bigger term, but you're talking about people in the entertainment business that happen 7 days a week, from bartenders to bus boys to waiters, the servers, to everybody else, we're all hurting. Everybody's hurting and stuff like that.
Mhm.
So it almost comes down to a trickle down effect, because if restaurants are going to start closing, there's going to we can talk about all the what's going to happen, because when you start hearing corporate America companies closing down, then I worry about the mom and pop shops starting to close down. And what I mean by that, like, we know that, for instance, clubs, bars, these venues that we use, it's scary because we don't know what's going to happen for them, because can they survive this? Can they
Yeah.
survive longer? That's the scary part about it. So once those they start losing money, our customers who come to the events, they start losing money. They can't come to the event and they can't afford it and stuff like that.
One of
And it,
that's the situation we're in, because let's say once, we're only in phase three. That means you're gonna have a few people at your place. But the places they're trying now, they're trying to open up and do the best they can. Um, but how are you gonna survive if your club holds 1,500 people and you need like 700 people on a weekly basis to pay the bills? Now the government's telling you, well, you could only have 200 people in there. Right
yeah,
now, I think it's only
that's
50 or 10. So by the time you get to full capacity, that could be 6 months from now. I mean,
yep.
you're talking about, phase three, that's another 28 days. That puts you mid-July, August. If we're lucky, we go into phase four, you'll be August, September. And then phase five ain't until we get a treatment. These doctors are
And
talking
then
another six
wait,
months.
and then we don't even know what's going to happen in September, October, because here comes the colder weather. We don't know if there's going to be a resurgence of this whole virus. We don't know, it could be another season of, because we know it's flu season come November, December, and we're back at square one, or maybe even worse.
Right.
Those are the scary unknowns, man.
Because I mean, to
That's
me, I looked at, like, you look at the big organizations like Ravinia and these other big organizations, they called off their whole season. I'm like, oh man, when you call off your whole season, that that tells you that it's gonna be a hard road coming back out. So
right.
they're like they're not even messing around. Like, okay, why am I gonna open in September? I might as well just close it down and come
No,
back in the spring.
but you're not just that, but look at all basketball, football, I mean, soccer, baseball, everything, as far as, just the entertainment aspect of it as well.
Yeah,
You
no,
know, they,
it's a bummer because you're talking about entertainment, but then I look at what's happening. All this stuff is like, I take it like there's a lot of other things happening in this country, you know, that have to happen. I mean, this virus, this pandemic brought out a lot of ugly, you know, there's a
Mhm.
lot of ugliness out there, a lot of negativity, a lot of racism, a lot of all this craziness that you're seeing in the media today. So I look at it, man, how am I going to plan an event where, even thinking about going to an event where people are getting killed in the streets, there's no unity, out there. There's, and all of this stuff, there's people worried about, how they're going to feed their kids, how am I going to pay my house? All of these things that affect the family and the person, the last thing you're going to think about, is going to an event, you know. Um,
Well,
the kids,
George,
the older people, but the kids, like what I see now, I mean, I'm just my opinion, you know, the youngsters, they these guys haven't lived past anything. So, I mean,
agree,
they're
agree.
doing a lot of crazy stuff out there. They're not taking care of themselves, you know, and they think they're immune to this stuff. They're not taking it seriously, and they take advantage of certain things. But you see people at jam packed at a bar in Wisconsin. The the beach is packed, and in Florida, and all this is going on. you know, I just hope that we can survive. Fall comes, we don't get hit harder.
So George, I'm gonna just give you my opinion about we're in. I know what you're saying exactly about the events and so forth, and I agree. But honestly, I have to believe that music will also be a key to bringing people together as well, because it seems that that's the way that this kind of can get resolved between any racism, between any hardship and stuff like that. Because in the past, we can go always in the past. There's always been music from the Fania All Stars, from the days of rock and roll, from the days of we can go back in history of time. If music will bring people together, just like JM Silk song, music is the key. That's kind of how I think that kind of has to happen in increments. Not all at the same time, like would but I'm not saying by an event, boom, and guess what? Everybody's gonna come out because of everything else going on. But I think one of the things that I've learned from the show and interviewing the guys is that music was save people's lives in the sense of situation that was going on in neighborhoods and stuff like that. So people use music as, okay, you know what? I'm not going to do that. I'm going to go do music, or I'm going to listen to music. And I think music has always been a factor in our psyche, pretty much us, as far as dealing with life. And I think music is very important because I know if I'm going to, let's say, the Colombian Fest, why are we going there? Because we're there to hear the music. We're there to hear the vibe, to experience the vibe and stuff like that. And I think, for all aspects of people's lives, that's very important. We need that because I think part of this too, that you said what's going on in life now is the tension and anxiety that's been building up since March until now. So here, it's unfortunate Mr. Floyd gets killed, and then now everybody's on edge, and it sets off sparks, and I get that. So I mean, I hope that whatever goes forward from this moment on, whether they allow us to have some sort of normalcy, I hope that whatever events you do, I do, or anybody that's responsible for doing events, we do it the correct way, we do it the right way, because I think that's what people need. They need to hear, obviously, why are you doing the live streaming? Because you want people to listen to the music, and it's important.
I totally agree with you, and I'm a believer in that, and I think that that's part of our lives. If it wasn't for music, you know, like I said, what would I be? You know what I'm saying? So that's very, I'm very passionate about it, um, because that's what brings people together. Like you said, I witnessed it, and it heals. And
Yep.
I think there's a healing process that's got to happen. You know, we got to heal as a country, as a community, on all this stuff that's going on, and then we also got to heal with COVID-19. There's a lot of healing that has to happen. I mean, there's 5,000 people died here in Illinois, man. And the thing is like, it's, you know, I don't think of it as a number because there's so many people that I know that got infected. There's people that went to my fast that and other events that, that are COVID-19, positive. And there's friends and relatives and brothers and grandmothers, that've passed away from our community. So
Right.
I think that, you know, my commitment to our people here in Chicago, for the whole Chicago, the whole Midwest, is that we move forward and that we do events and bring them back better, bring them back, safely, and work with the government bodies, the health experts, um, and it's always been our main focus. I mean, yours, mine, everybody in this industry has always been our main focus is always safety.
Yep.
Safety,
Agree.
because we have to take care of our patrons. Because if it wasn't for them, we wouldn't be here. If it
Correct.
wasn't for the person going to the club, to the restaurant, to the concert, to the festival, we wouldn't be here. We wouldn't be a business. We wouldn't be an industry. So we have to take care of our people, and the business of culture, the business of music, will get stronger and bring people back together, because at the end of the day, at the light of the tunnel, whatever they say, you know, we're social beings. We're gonna get back together and we're gonna have a beer together. We might not share the beer now, like the same bottle, or we might not drink, a shot of tequila together, share the same bottle anymore, but I'll give you a separate cup. We have to do it a little bit separately, but we're gonna enjoy a drink together. We're gonna enjoy some good music, because music, like you said, Keith Nutley, Chicago artist, legend, when he throws down and he bowls out that tune, bro. Music is the key, and don't matter what language, no matter what what nationality you are, man. You could be a salsa head, a rock head, and you get that spiritual house tune going. Everybody's everybody's jamming. It's the same thing. You play Joe Arroyo. No le pega la negra, bro. That's everybody. Everybody knows that song all over the world. You know, they play it in the clubs every day. So I think we have to honor our culture, and we're going to continue doing that. And we're going to move forward and build the festival better and better. And all these other events are going to come back: the Puerto Rican Fest, the Dominican Fest, the Rib Fest, all of these, Taste of Chicago, all the city programs. When they come out next year, it'll be stronger. It'll be a lot better. We'll have hopefully have a vaccine and a treatment, and we get this under control. But meanwhile, we got to play ball, and we got to
Yeah.
be smart.
Agree.
We got to be smart, take care of ourselves and take care of others.
Correct.
There's our community, are hit the hardest. I mean, I've done the festival at Calvin Park. That's my alma mater. And you look at the numbers, man. Hermosa, Belmont Craig, it's just crazy the numbers of people that have COVID. All of these people dying at the nursing homes, so all this is serious. And people, when they go back home, bro, they're gonna play their records. I see people playing records now on their live broadcast. You know, people, listening to different podcasts and music, because that's the only thing you got. Your only escape right now is in front of a screen, listening to music or watching TV. But you
We're
gotta
watching this right now.
whoever's watching it there, I mean, if you're not watching it now, you'll probably watch it later, because
Yeah, right.
I found, dude, I found myself the same way, bro. It was like, I had to like quit like listening to the news, man. I had to tune out like when Trump was talking, I had to tune him out. And then the governor was like every day, so now it's like, okay, once I got my information, I said, okay, you know what, we're done. I have to move the event because it's irresponsible, as a promoter to do an event of that large scale in a community that's very vulnerable, you
Right.
know. Um,
Well, we have hope. That's all we can hope for, and I think that's where we follow what our heart tells us. There's hope. There will be hope.
mhm.
I think all of us, this can't be the end. This can't be. It can't end like this. No,
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 this
no.
is listen. If anything, what I've learned, like, it's you have. I mean, this is not the end. I mean, this is another step, another lesson that we must learn. And we will conquer. We will move on. And the
Right.
idea is that we have to learn from it and not repeat the
Hmm.
same mistakes that we made with this
I
one,
agree.
next one, because there's always going to be a next thing. I mean, to me, this is life, bro. Until you're 6 feet under, you know, that maybe then you don't even stop kicking. You might wake up in there and scratch the top of, But again, it's like you got to keep going, And
Correct.
you know,
Correct.
as a musician, as an artist, creative people, you know, they're the ones that lead the culture. And
Correct.
we're the most resilient people, and we're going to survive. We're going to create new art, create new music, create new experiences, and that's the time that we got now. We got to create
And new ways to do it.
and I've been back, dude. I've been back and forth. I've been people sending me videos. I've been looking at all these companies, like, developing all of this new technology. It's just like shit from the from like Star Wars, and I was watching something about Bart the Simpsons. They predict the future, you know, and this is unreal. It's like,
Yeah,
now you
I know.
now, like, you think about it, like when the airports, when you seen the Chinese people, the airports look like some thing from a sci-fi movie. That's what we got. That's what we have to live by now. And I was looking at this thing about Michael Jackson. Remember, he was always wearing a mask, and there's so much information on the internet now. It's just nuts. But we just have to keep going, protect ourselves, and keep creating, and stay positive,
Right.
and live life to the fullest. And I mean, I don't have no regrets. And look, I'm learning more shit now, dude. Is like, I respect the teachers, bro. The teachers are underestimated, and I know, Chicago public schools, they have a long history of, not being that good. And it's been really rough because they weren't prepared for this e-learning stuff. And now it's like, dude, I've been on this e-learning stuff. I'm getting the hang of it now. But dude, when was the last time? The last time you did fractions, bro? And you got these, they got you got to read a whole story, and then they ask you these questions. And I'm like, man, it's crazy. I'm like, I'm an art teacher, I'm the science teacher, I'm the music teacher, I'm the English teacher, special ed. Dude, you're like, bro, it's nuts. It's just crazy.
So one of the positives, and it's going to remind everyone, you have now a bigger connection with your kids that you never had before.
Oh yeah, definitely, definitely. I mean, my
Per se,
son,
not that you never had before, but I'm saying there's a bigger role now
yeah, bigger
in
role. Yeah,
this
he's
situation. Now you're,
learning more
yeah,
stuff.
exactly.
I lost like about 10 pounds so far because we've been playing soccer, bicycling, walking, and and he's learning how to play the records. And you know what he did the other day? I think I put a post up, but it's like, he wanted the first thing he wanted to know is scratching. I'm like, you're gonna mess up like $150 needle. You over here, he was like, da, 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 da. I'm like, don't with finesse. He thinks he's like grinding the hell out of this thing. But he'll learn. He'll learn. But yeah,
Yeah,
like
cool.
I said, we're gonna come back strong in
Right.
2021, and we hope we'll go with the punches, and
Absolutely.
we gotta. I mean, if any person can adapt, is the promoter, bro. It is you're already just because you're a promoter. I mean, to me, it seems like anybody in this business, you're at a whole. You're different, bro. You're different.
Mhm.
You're different material, different character. Because dude, it's like, you win and you lose every night.
Yep.
You know,
Agree.
a regular person, I got a job, I got 9 to 5, I get my paycheck, go do what I gotta do. An entrepreneur, a promoter, dude, we were taking a risk every day, every show. You know what
Yep.
I'm saying? You're taking a risk every show. You're like,
We're,
dude,
we're given all these different obstacles
yeah,
every
dude,
day.
we're already that animal. You know what I'm saying? We're gonna
Yep.
adapt. We're gonna adapt. We're gonna,
Yep.
we've always overcome, because you know what? I remember I learned this from an old promoter. I'm not sure which one it was, but I remember they were saying, you're gonna be a promoter. It's like you gotta be able to live the next day, survive your next show. You know what I'm saying? Because I mean, there's people like, you've seen people like, uh they go for broke, lose thousands of dollars or something. They didn't do something right, something happened, whatever, and they lost all this money and they're gone. You know, then you got people like me, Henry's at a different scale, Live Nations at a different scale, but our scale is the same thing. You live, you live that day, you show up, you do your best to promote it, and you hope and have faith that you'll come out at the end with a good show, and people loved your show. uh, People loved your show, and they had a good time. And at the end of the day, if you walk away with $2 in your pocket, you're happy, bro. Let's go.
Absolutely.
Let's go
Absolutely.
to the. How many times have you gone? This is a promoter story, DJ story, whatever. You go to a breakfast spot.
You mean International House of Prieto?
Yeah, I was sad because they're closed. They closed one of my joints down on Western and Montrose, Jerry's. That
Yeah.
was the place that Aragon, you would go and have breakfast there with. And
Yep.
back in the days before there was no all these health reasons, I remember the guy smoking a cigarette in the ash, like curly. He was coming into the eggs, bro. And I'll be looking at that dude. It's gonna go, and it never goes, bro. You miss that
Yep.
type of shit, because at the end of the day, you're like, I'm eating a meal, with some friends, with the bouncers, with the DJs,
Oh, dude.
with
How,
the, and we're like,
God,
"Hey, let's have a good time. We eat, and to the next."
Hollywood. That would be like another place.
There's so many places that Temple,
Oh my God.
you know,
But those were the best connections at 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock in the morning. And sometimes, I'm telling you that that's when you got your best inspiration
oh yeah,
because we would,
I agree with that. I mean, there's a quick little story. I was, I remember, I was a Rolly, I think it was Rolly Martinez. And I remember one of our first car shows, that's how we talked about it. It was like with a napkin, and we were just having lunch or breakfast, late night. He was working, I think, the door at Cairo's or something,
yeah,
and shit
exactly.
like that. And that's how stuff happens. And that's how a lot of these things happen. You
Yep.
create your best work in the middle of the night with with people having breakfast or dinner or over a cocktail, and everything is networking and the
Right.
creativity.
Right.
That's where it comes out of. I mean, my best
And
creative stuff has been in those situations, and people said I was
yep.
crazy.
Yep.
People say, "Oh, you're crazy, you're not gonna do that, you can do this," and then
And that's honestly why I'm wishing for this connections to happen again, because I think we're in a funk of this connection. And if we can, and honestly, honestly, I'm going to tell you, that's why I did this show. Honestly, this is why I did that show, because this is a substitute of because we could be having breakfast and we could be talking from across each other at a restaurant right now, and you're talking and I'm talking. As many as each of these interviews that happen, man, dude, trust me, I have so many new things that are happening. So many, and I thank everybody that comes on the show, because you tell me things, and it just sparks that creativity in my brain, and I'm like, I got an idea. I know what to do next. And honestly, that's why this show is real important, not just for me, but anybody else that watches the show, anybody else that listens to it, anybody that hears the conversations. I hope that's what they get from it, is that connection of those little different ideas, because we all, and you said about the car show with Rolly, I really believe that his history and your history made up the ideal when it says, okay, let's do this, let's do that. Okay. Those are the little connections that come important in this business. And I believe these interviews are a big part of what's going to happen for the next wave, and what's going to happen for you and me and everybody else that's a promoter out there.
well, I think it's very important. I mean, um I've been in contact with people from like all over the world, man. On WhatsApp, on Zoom, on Facebook. Seeing and now you have the opportunity to expand the network, because I want to see what's going on in other cities. In Germany, we got some DJ friends out there in Germany, in Japan, and that I've met at Womax when I went over to the World Music Festivals in Poland and in Spain. Met a bunch of people, and it's like they send me stuff. I'm looking at their live feeds, what they're doing different, how are they doing it, how they're doing these virtual festivals, and you just learn, that this is new for
Correct.
everybody, and then
Yep.
how do we capitalize on this whole internet thing? Now there's an opportunity for the little guy, not just Mark Zuckerberg and the other dude. They got a lockdown on some stuff, but how do we use those platforms, to build on and make experiences and connect people, is very important. And I think that's where it's at. I'm really happy that you're doing this type of show. I'm seeing other events doing bringing back artists, talking to them, doing
Right.
podcasts. That's very important. That's the only way we can connect right now. And then, I think it's going to be here to stay, but not to that magnitude, because it's going to be
Right.
eventually people are going to go out. They're going to come out to socialize and drinks and bars and stuff. So they might not be tuning in, like there are now, because there's no options. But once it's opened up, I think that the medium is going to lend itself for people to find out more about your company, about your art, about your craft, where then you can do podcasts and videos, and people are going to experiment and okay, I want to know more about the everyday artist. What are you doing? Sort of.
No,
So
it's a fact. My base on Facebook has grown 2,000 people since I've been doing these shows. It grew. It grew so big because of this and stuff like that. It grew,
this is going
and
to get bigger.
and I
It's going to get bigger because people are looking for content. People are looking for you know uh, the normal news, people, they're tuning out, you could only hear so much of the same, 10-second bite. Like, you got the time, you can come here and listen to an interview, watch a concert, watch whatever on the internet. So it's good. And I think that we're gonna come out at the end, we're gonna be okay. I think
Cool.
people need to hear that. Like I said,
I agree. I agree. I agree a
we're gonna
thousand
be
percent.
fine. Like I said, I got into that funk for a little bit. You do that little cartoon guys that we're doomed, we're doomed. And then you realize, okay, let's come on. I've been through this shit before. Let's get our boots back on, get on the ground, and get busy and do some stuff. Because
Right.
that's what, like, there's some needs out there, and today was a long day for me. But it was very satisfying that with the network of partners that we have. Today we gave out 500 families. We gave them out food, groceries, masks, hand sanitizers. And those are all connections. We call
Right.
people and say, "Hey, I need your help. I need a donation." We move. So we're just using our skills as event people. We know how to get stuff together. So
Correct.
now I'm glad that there's doors opening and there's resources out there. We just got to get it done. And that's what we're trying to do is, like, we have resources, we have the knowledge. There's no events going on, but what I ask our industry is like, hey, look around what you're doing and try to help somebody. And helping by
Right.
not necessarily with money, it's time. Like, I try to invest 3 or 4 hours, in the day, at least 10 hours a week volunteering. Then it gets me active. We're helping out, and we're trying to help our people, our patrons that come to our events. A lot of them are hurting now. So, we need to, like, try to, jump aboard on some of these programs that are out there, volunteer and help out. And I think that that's where.
But but George, let's make sure that everybody understands that you've been doing this way before this COVID thing, too. Right?
Oh,
You
no,
you've
yeah.
been.
We,
So I just want to make sure people understand.
no, what I'm saying is, like, if
But I'm
we
talking about you volunteering and you being community service.
oh
You've
yeah,
been doing it before the COVID.
oh
So
yeah,
that's, I just want to make sure people understood that. That's not just because of what the situation
oh
now. I'm
yeah.
talking about you.
I think,
You've
yeah,
been doing it.
I think it's just the what I've seen is the volume. Where the volume is, we've done mural projects, we've done, the a lot of things, over the years. I've done this all my life. I've always tried to give back, because that's the way I was raised. My
Right.
mom, my dad, my mom is God bless her soul. She'll feed everybody. That's why, like, our house, the Ortega compound, it's always like that, and it will be always like that. Our doors are open. Somebody needs a hand, needs help. You need a bowl of rice, a bowl of soup, and you're hungry, man. You call me, come to the house, and it's there. That's the way we were brought up. So now, we have to go out and do it. We've been doing it, before this thing, but now it's like the volume is just, before, like, okay, you get 80 people, there's some people that need the help. But when you see thousands of people needing help all at once because they're unemployed, they're sick, they can't, they're positive, they can't go out of the house, you know, um, there's a lot of Colombians that are stranded here, that were here on
Right.
vacation, that can't go back to Colombia. There's thousands of Mexican families and Central American families that can't go back for other reasons. They need help, and I've been you never seen this before, until now, because it wasn't like out on the streets, and when you're looking at, we did a church event, it went from like 80 people one week, and then all of a sudden you get 400 people, you're like, wow, you know, there's a big need out there. I mean, there's a lot, the numbers are just crazy. Everybody you talk to, yeah, I haven't worked, in months, I'm getting by. So, now it's like, how are you going to pay your rent? So we're trying to just help as much as we can.
I agree.
Mm.
And I feel bad because it's bad now, but what next month is gonna get worse. Next month after that, it's just
It's going to get worse before it gets better.
right,
That's every situation. But like,
right.
I'm a man of faith and spirit, and spirituality. And, I believe the ancestors and, like my mom said, God will never let you starve, what I'm saying? It's like there's always going to be something out there, somebody, a place you can go to get food. I mean, America has that option,
Right.
where if you didn't live in another country, you probably won't know, because a lot of people don't appreciate, here in America, you got there's a lot of good stuff here, that's why people want to come here, and when I go back home and it's like, I wish I can take, 2 trailers full of stuff to my country and give it to these kids, but we try, we're going to try to do some things out there, but you see it's hard, when over there it's hard to get stuff. So
Right.
you imagine these other countries when there's stuff going on where you can't even find nothing, you know.
Right.
Here we were hoarding toilet paper instead of hoarding some other stuff. You know what I'm saying? So, in some countries they didn't have that. They don't
Yep,
have
I
nothing.
agree.
They don't have nothing to hoard. So it's like, we gotta think positive and count our blessings and try to share a little bit with humanity, and we're all human. And I think people sometimes forget that. I'm like, dude,
Yep, I agree.
we're human, and we gotta do what we gotta do.
Yep. And that note, George, I appreciate everything you talked about. It was a great interview. Guys, thank you. Any last words you want to say to people listening right now before we
I
cut
just
them?
want to say, I want to thank everybody out there for the support through all these years, supporting all the projects that we're involved in. And I just want to let everybody know, we're going to have a live stream coming up June 20th. And also the festival, Colombian Fest, will be live streamed from the whole weekend of July 20th. We're going to be bringing some artists to join us from Colombia and other places on the platform, so stay tuned for that. We have some other projects that we're going to be launching, some social and non-for-profit work that we're doing. And I just want to tell people, keep it up, stay positive, and everything's going to be okay. Let's just be patient, use our head, think things through, and we'll be okay, and we'll pass COVID-19 and all of this racism stuff will subside, and we will heal, and we will be better. Thank you.
All right, George, thank you very much. Everybody, that's the Front Door Show. Appreciate you guys tuning in. We do this every day at 8 o'clock. Salute. Where's the Ariente? There you
That's
go.
some rum.
Oh yeah, I love the rum. Talk to you later, guys. All right.
All right.